Coming up on show 645, my Mega Mach-E review, the Mercedes-Benz EQS interior and Lamborghini's Supercapacitors. Those stories, actually no more, that's all we're talking about today because it's a Mega Mach-E review on the podcast today. Just about every possible tech car website has gone big on the Ford Mustang Mach-E, so we go around the grounds and round up the very best reviews that I think, if you have 5 minutes of reading that you can do today, I'll put links in the show notes, the best reviews that I found, and I'll bring you the highlights from those. Well, good morning, good afternoon or good evening, in fact wherever you're listening around the world. Welcome to EV News Daily, the edition for Monday, 18th of November. My name is Martyn Lee, going through all the EV news I can find to try and save you time. Well, thank you as always to the gang at myev.com. MyEV, if you're in the USA, MyEV is a resource you can use because they love electric cars as much as you and I love electric cars. They say, let's face it, electric vehicles are just better. The only dedicated EV marketplace. And you can see why millions are switching to electric power. If you want to talk to someone about electric cars, I've got a great chat box on there as well. And I know that the human beings on the other end of that do love EVs. In fact, most of them drive them as well. Okay, let's talk about the Ford Mustang Mach-E. Revealed on Sunday night, and it was in the evening on the West Coast. And so 2:30 in the morning, where I'm based, and I ain't going to stay up to watch that. So, getting up this morning, having a look around the reviews, watching the about an hour-long live stream myself as well with Idris Elba, adding some star power to an event that I'm not sure it needed, but fair play. He didn't exactly do any harm. He would have cost a fair bit to Ford's marketing budgets, but I think the car was the star, but maybe it's because you and I like cars, and so maybe they needed a mega star like Idris Elba to add some more star power to it. Well, we'll kick off with a very important review. John Neff, the global editor-in-chief of Motor1.com, sat down to pen his thoughts on the Mustang Mach-E. Now, he says that you've got Tesla, which sell roughly 78% of all EVs in the US, the Model 3 alone representing 60% of total EV sales in this country. The rest of the market is leftovers for the dozen or so other EVs divided amongst themselves. Well, the Mustang Mach-E is taking aim, though, at the upcoming Tesla Model Y, the crossover-ish version, says John, of the most popular EV in the world, the Model 3 sedan. What Ford has smartly done is make matching the Model Y spec-for-spec a must. The Mustang Mach-E and the Model Y both start in the low $40,000 range. They both have a maximum range of 300 miles, 0 to 60 times, from 5.5 seconds down to 3.5. And they both have 4 doors, seat 5 people, and carry cargo. Indeed, if you were looking at their specs on paper, you couldn't tell the two cars apart, says John. Very important review from Motor1.com to kick us off. I would add to John's thoughts as well. It's been a few hours since I read his review, and I can't remember if he mentioned it in there or not. Although the specs are the same on paper, of course, the Ford is considerably cheaper than Tesla's because they still have access to the $7,500 federal tax credit on next year's tax bill if you are qualifying for that, which can make a big difference. Let's go to Clean Technica next, who give a really mega review of the Ford Mustang Mach-E. And they focus on the tech inside it. When it comes to propulsion, they say, the Mustang Mach-E has the same basic layout as Tesla vehicles. It's what we call the skateboard design. So it's the battery pack forming the base of the car. You sit on top of a flat battery pack, wheels on the 4 corners. The drive unit sits between the rear wheels, optional drive unit between the front wheels. Lower packages for the vehicle will come with just the rear drive unit, though higher end vehicles do come with all-wheel drive. The most powerful model is not going to be out for a while. Now, the most powerful one's called the GT Performance, 459 horsepower, and battery packs for most of the Mustangs come in 2 sizes, 76 and 99 kilowatt hours, and that is big. Now, on Friday's podcast, was it Friday or Saturday's podcast, when we were talking about the leak, when they accidentally put the website live, and so we saw all these details at the end of last week. The thing we didn't get was the battery pack sizes. So it was the thing that I was most excited about seeing. And now I speculated then that it was going to be 80 kilowatt hours for the lower size one. So I was off by 4 kilowatt hours, not bad. I did not predict that there would be 99 kilowatt hours being the biggie. I didn't think they would go that big. Tesla obviously go 100 with S and the X, and you got the Rivian soon and the Plaid models next year, but near as damn it 100 kilowatt hours is a big statement from Ford. The pack will use not the cylindrical cells like the big AA batteries, effectively, the 2170s and the 18650s. They use pouch cells, which are pretty much used by nearly all other EVs. Difficult to cool, not insanely difficult, but they have... Obviously, a pouch cell is very different to cool than a little cylindrical cell, of which you need many more cells to make a single module and a battery, so Tesla do make life hard for themselves there, but cooling can have some upsides for using that form factor. It is difficult to cool those pouch cells, so much so that Nissan still don't on their Leaf. Even though they're up to 62 kilowatt hours on the E+, they still don't have an active liquid-cooled system. They do have a more of a passive air-cooled system on the Leafs. Ford have indeed put in a very extensive liquid cooling system. They've got aluminium fins between every cell to cool them as evenly as possible under extreme conditions. Will it beat the P100D or the upcoming Roadster? Well, I mean, we can't call it P100D, can we? We call it long-range performance Model S. No, the Mustang won't beat the best that Tesla can do. It won't do it. It's not designed to do it. The Mustang is not meant to be the world's fastest drag car. No, pony cars are smaller, multi-role, sporty vehicles within the reach of the masses and younger people as well. People are already inevitably asking, is this a Tesla killer? And as Clean Technica point out, and if they hadn't, I would have done, if you're asking that, you've missed the point. This adds to the EV market. And I'll say, like I said when the Porsche Taycan was released a few weeks ago, there will be a tiny fraction of people who were in the market for a Tesla who maybe bought the Porsche. And I think, personally, and feel free to prove me wrong, I think there will be a tiny fraction of prospective Model Y buyers who now buy the Mustang. But I think if you're going to buy a Tesla, if you've made your mind up, if you're a Tesla buyer, or you followed the story, you like Elon, you follow him on Twitter, you buy into the whole thing that it's about, look, you're going to buy a Tesla. If that's what you want, you're going to buy one. Because this car, you would only not buy one if you could get the same thing for half the price and you'd kind of make do. But this is going to be a similar price for the same specs. If, however, you are one of the many, many, many people who don't own a Tesla or want one, chances are maybe you've driven many Fords in your lifetime, maybe even Mustangs. And this enables you to think about what your life would be like with an EV. This raises the tide and it floats all boats. And it's a very... Look, I understand. You and I are ahead of the curve because we're into these electric vehicles. You've got to remember, for most people, even car journalists are still writing about fossil cars. For many people, electric cars are indeed a segment on their own. And so they compare everything that's got a battery, from the smallest city car to the biggest Model S and X. And they put them in the same sentence. Now, they do that because they don't quite get it yet. But they will. Given time, they'll get it. And they always think that when a new EV comes along, it means it has to kill Tesla. It doesn't. It adds. And Electrek make an overt reference to how much the inside looks like a Tesla, with the headline, "Great Artists Steal." And I know what Seth's done with that headline. It's funny, it's tongue-in-cheek. My take on that headline of "Great Artists Steal" is all Ford have done is look at where the EV market is and built on top of what's come before. If they would be negligent if they hadn't done that. So all Ford has done is looked at the best bits of the best EVs out there when they started this project 2 years ago and gone, all right, that is starting point. That is the start line. Where do we go from here? How do we make it a Ford? Well, Seth at Electric gave us insight as well into where the reveal was. And this is new to me. I've been following this, of course, in great detail. And I didn't realise that as all the vans of journalists pulled off the 105 highway, it was the SpaceX headquarters which they then could see, and the Tesla design studio next to it. They were pulling into the hangar where Tesla holds its events. That's right, they used the same place. Journalists were even looking out for the Cybertruck. No, you're a few days early for that. Seth was calculating the odds that this was some sort of coincidence. I mean, how many places in Los Angeles are available during the week of the LA Auto Show when all the journalists are flown in anyway or are in town? There's many places that you could go, but you choose exactly the same place that Tesla uses and will be using for Cybertruck. It is, as he says, ballsy. It's a statement of intent. At every press briefing, there was one thread that bound the project together. Ford considered this an urgent project in both time and significance. It's basically Ford's do-or-die project, and nowhere is this more obvious than their choice of using the Mustang brand. If it fails, well, so does Mustang. Onto Car and Driver, and they're all about the specs of the vehicle. Car and Driver say that the Mustang Mach-E comes in a choice of 5 versions, and yes, that's true for the US, but I'll get onto that in a moment. Only 2 of which are available at the start, the Premium and the Limited Quantity First Edition, both slated to reach customers this time next year. Premium model comes with standard or extended range batteries, rear-wheel or all-wheel drive, and the First Edition comes only with all-wheel drive and the big battery. Either way, the batteries are paired with permanent magnet synchronous electric motors under the floor of the vehicle. Range goes from 210 to 300 in America. I'll come on to that in a bit. Europe has different figures here. And the Mustang Mach-E has 3 driving modes: Whisper mode, Engage mode, and Unbridled mode. And I love that because if I am borrowing a Tesla, or when I drive, I don't own a Tesla, but if I do borrow one, I put it in chill mode because I'm lazy and I can't be bothered to modulate the accelerator, and they're so darn powerful. So I would like Whisper mode because I'm lazy and I just put my foot down and it takes off slowly. Each offers specific changes to the driving experience, like steering tweaks, varied pedal feel, gauge cluster graphics, and a specifically tuned sound. Okay, let's move on to the details that we get from TechCrunch. Now, TechCrunch have listed out their favourite 5 things which may have passed you by, and a couple of these did. Firstly, Ford went in an entirely new direction in door handles. There aren't any. The doors seem to be lacking handles at all, but if you look closely, there are illuminated buttons on the B pillar. That's the one between the 2 doors, and the C pillar behind the passenger doors, and there's a key code that you can enter to open the door. Next, it's a small detail, but many automakers have been ignoring what customers actually need. Yes, that is, apart from a cup holder, a tech tray. A big tray, which is a big wireless charging pad that you can put your phones down in, and it will give them some juice. Number 3, they say, the big touchscreen. 15.5 inch, looks like the Model S and the X inside. Yes, I agree. And it's a vertically placed, but they've put a physical button at the bottom of it to control things like the volume. And it's because this is, I know that I've said this before, where I like a few buttons. I like a tactile feel. And I often get 1 or 2 Tesla fans email me when I say that to go, look, it's not onerous to just reach down to change menus and do what you're going to do. I like 1 or 2, like volume, HVAC, temperature, changing things. I like a few buttons, right? And then a big touch screen. And that's what Ford have done. Ford is hardly the first to move away from leather. Tesla dropped leather. Porsche Taycan went vegan. Now the interior of the Mustang qualifies too. And finally, something big up front. That would be a 5 cubic foot frunk, drainable and plastic. Who is the Josh Greiner is the senior interior designer on the project, and he noted that the front could even be packed with ice if you're out tailgating, and you can just shove the ice in the frunk, and then stick some cold drinks and things in there, and then as the ice melts, it drains out the bottom. Brilliant. Thank you, TechCrunch, for 5 favourite things. Up close with Ford's Mustang, says The Verge. Take away the branding and the headlights and tail lights, and it looks a decent amount like it's more luxurious competition. Almost like a cross between the Mercedes-Benz EQC and the Jaguar I-Pace, and some BMW thrown in there as well. A testament to the work done by Team Edison. Let me tell you about Team Edison. It's a group of specialist Ford designers and engineers that about 2 years ago, it's mid-2017, they were pulled together from various bits of the company. And much like the A-Team, but a few more of them, it was their job to pivot away from what was a Ford Focus compliance car to 2 years later being in a position to release the Mustang Mach-E. That we are, say, The Verge, knee-deep in these kind of conversations and arguments about which one is better. Is it the Model Y? Is it the Mustang? Feels like progress, as opposed to a few years ago when even getting people to talk about EVs, let alone have strong emotions and feelings, was like pulling teeth. An all-electric Mustang SUV. You better believe it, says Motor Trend. And they have a massive 74 photo gallery up on their website. Millions of Mustang fans out there, so why not leverage their love of the model? Do you think the front-engined Porsche Panamera looks like the rear-engined 911 by accident, says Motor Trend? No way! All Porsches must answer to the 911, and at the same time, milk that 911 for any credibility. Looks like the same will be true for the word Mustang and Ford. That, say Motor Trend, is smart. So what do you think then? That is my mega review roundup of the Ford Mustang. Before I finish off and get onto some Mercedes-Benz news, because we're cracking on with the podcast time already, I'm just going to have a quick talk through with you the configurators. Now, the configurator in the USA and the configurator that I see, very different. And that's the thing, with Tesla, for instance, we keep bringing this back. With Apple, with Tesla, you get a choice of 2 or 3 things. I know that if I go to the Tesla website and change the country, and I look at it, what the website looks like in the USA, Canada, France, Germany, Spain, England, Australia, it all looks the same. The mileage changes according to local regulatory testing, and the prices, of course, change. The 2 Ford configurators that I'm looking at side by side on my split screen right now, they are quite different. Even the language used, like reserve or order, different for the US market. And I've looked at the German site. The Spanish site doesn't have it at all today. German one does. My German's not great, but I could just about work out. But I'm going to compare USA and UK. So the difference is, and this difference is around the world, which you wouldn't get with another company. It's a very traditional automaker way of doing it. You have to think about the cars differently. So on the USA configurator, I've got a choice here of 5 different cars, but I've got a choice of 5 specs. So if I want to buy the Mustang in the US, or order it now, first of all, you've got to choose the spec you want. So you've got to look at the specs. First, select Premium, California, and GT. They're the 5. And that you go through that, and that gives you what size wheels you're going to get, whether you're going to get some panoramic glass roof, whether you're going to get heated seats all around, folding wing mirrors, etc., etc. So first off, you've got to go through the stage of choosing your specs. Before you get to anything else, what spec do you want? Now, the only thing you can't change is the first edition. That comes at the first ones you're going to get, and you just get that. But if I'm in the USA configurator now, and I click on the select one, now I've chosen the specs, as it were, at the level of luxury. Then I get to choose, do you want the small battery or the big one? Standard range battery, rear wheel drive. I'm sorry, not battery size. With this spec, you're choosing motors. So, with the premium spec, do you want rear wheel drive or all wheel drive? And if you want all wheel drive, it's going to cost you another $2,700. So that is the select spec. Sorry, if I go premium spec and I select that one, now I've got a choice of 4. I can either have small battery rear wheel, small battery, all-wheel drive, or extended range battery, rear wheel drive, or extended range, all-wheel drive. And so it goes on. It's entirely opposite in the UK configurator. In the UK configurator, first of all, you got to put £1,000 down, not $500, and I've only got a choice of 3. And I've got the first edition, but then you choose, rather than spec, you choose whether you want rear-wheel drive or all-wheel drive first. So let me click on all-wheel drive, and all I get to do then is pick small battery, big battery. So actually the UK configurator is much more like Tesla's. You've got a choice of just 2 or 3. Do you want all-wheel drive or do you want rear-wheel drive? Okay, I want all-wheel drive. All right, now you've clicked on that, little battery or big battery. And then when you've done that, the spec you get is the spec you get. So all the little details about, I don't know, infotainment systems and stuff, which is the first option in the US, that is just kind of the last thing that's, oh, by the way, you've chosen this spec, it comes with this. 2 entirely opposite ways of the pathway to choosing a car. Both would get you to the same destination eventually if you spend, and I spent a good amount of time just playing with this and just trying different countries' versions of it. Let me know how it looks where you are. Let me know if this looks like normal car company stuff to me. Loads of options, loads of tick boxes. You can spec the cars in many different ways. And look, if Ford can handle that different variety of specs on their production lines, then why not? They know how to make a car. Certainly better than I do. So I will defer to them on that. Personally, and I'm not just saying it because I'm in the UK, I prefer the British configurator. A choice of 3. What do you want? The first edition? And that you get that as it is, big battery, all-wheel drive. Or do you want a choice of the other 2? Choose your motors, choose your battery, and that's it. There's kind of no California model, no premium, no select, because they're just sort of random words. I don't really know what they mean. That has been a brilliant day for Ford. Well done to everybody involved in getting that car here in 2 years, which for car industry terms is just that's like working at lightning pace. That is having meetings standing up. That is having no meeting lasting more than 10 minutes kind of thing. That is everyone working long days, 6-7 days a week to get 2 years from start to finish is incredible. Really applaud them. I'm really impressed. Really super impressed. I think the styling, take or leave the grille. Actually, the grille on the GT is beautiful. Take the grille from the GT one, which we don't get for 2 years. Stick that on all the others. Very beautiful car. The grille on the first edition is just the slab. There was an article today, can't remember which website, one of the many, many sites I went through for you today, which said none of the photos, none of the renders do any justice. When you see it in the flesh, in the metal, looks way better. All right, final couple of stories today. First of all, let's talk about Mercedes-Benz, the Mercedes-Benz EQS. That is the big electric luxury sedan. That's been spied once again. Not much to report on the outside, but the spy photographers from Autoblog had a look at the inside, and Joel at Autoblog says that while the centre stack is covered, you can tell the interior is similar to that, to the very latest next-generation S-Class. And I mean, Google it if you haven't seen what the top line Mercedes looks like these days. I mean, that is nice. In front of the driver, big widescreen display, not flanked by similarly sized screens for entertainment, has a massive touchscreen, touch-sensitive panel hiding underneath, unfortunately, a fabric cover. Couldn't see all of it. In keeping with the concept design, though, the inside of the latest Mercedes luxury cars, very, very beautiful. And finally, Lamborghini finishes off today on the podcast. Lamborghini and MIT have a new technology patent for supercapacitors. The collaboration between Lamborghini and the Massachusetts Institute of Technology has produced a major result. A patent for the innovative synthetic material that's going to serve as the technological base for their next-gen supercapacitors. Further research is going to explore the additional optimization of the properties of the material and production on a larger scale. Well, supercapacitors are already representing a winning solution in high-performance motorsport applications by virtue of their exceptional power and durability. And they promise to become an essential technology for years to come in Lamborghinis. The supercapacitor they use at the moment can provide enough power to their hybrid motors in the Lamborghinis to provide 34 extra horsepower to smooth out acceleration and gear changes. Lamborghini says the approach removes any jerkiness during a shift, and because supercapacitors can be charged and discharged symmetrically, they're an incredibly efficient way of making a very short burst of electric assist. The supercapacitor discharges during acceleration, but a supercapacitor can recharge incredibly quickly, has different properties to the lithium-ion batteries that we have in our EVs. So it can discharge very quickly, but charge very, very rapidly. Now, the current tech ones can't hold their charge for a long time. That's where the long-term storage of an EV battery comes into play. It'd be like getting in your car every morning and it'd be flat because your supercapacitors have gone flat overnight. But for track use, for motorsport use, for Lamborghini hypercar use, yes, you can do a hard braking event and that amount of regen can fill them all up again, meaning that the e-motor never lacks the power it needs to do the job when you're on the track. I'll pop a link in the show notes if you want to find out more about any of those stories. My Mega Mach-E review today has kept me very busy. I've absolutely loved it. It's such a positive day in the world of EVs when Ford climb on board and do it properly. It's just the best day today. Oh man, just awesome. Right, question of the week today. You are Set Your Challenge by myev.com. If you were marketing for an EV brand, maybe even if you were doing the marketing for Ford with the new Mustang, if you were marketing a new EV brand, how would you do it? What would be on the TV ad? Would you do billboards? Would you do some sort of interactive display? What would be on the TV ad? I am making you the madmen of the advertising industry this week, so get your brain ticking over and tell me how you would market a brand new EV. Email me, hello@evnewsdaily.com, or you can, if you want to, leave a comment on the show notes of Facebook and YouTube. Thank you to 251 patrons of the podcast. You keep me going. Find out what it's all about. Patreon.com/evnewsdaily. My premium partners, Phil Roberts of Electric Future, Brad Crosby, and Avid Technology. If you'd like to get any of the archive shows, they are, of course, online for free. The new ones come at you every single day if you're a subscriber. And you can get them for free by hitting subscribe in your podcast app. Have a wonderful day. Catch you soon. Oh, do remember, there is no such thing as a self-charging hybrid.